Hello North Stars and welcome to the SAT accommodated training video. If you're watching this, you have a blue manual like the one seen here. You should also have a accommodated study guide to help you go through this. These two go together that help you go through them. One is not meant to supplement the other. Hopefully these two along with this video will help you be fully prepared for testing. What I'm going to do in this video is go through the manual and highlight some parts of it to help you understand what's important. As you'll see right here in the beginning, I've highlighted some sections. I'm not highlighting everything. I'm not going to talk about everything, but you still need to make sure that you've gone through this manual and you are fully prepared to do what you need to do. Everyone needs to watch the first part of this. We'll give them general instructions, and then you'll be able to skip ahead to the appropriate script that you're using. There are 6 different scripts and a couple of different odd combinations, so you'll be able to skip ahead to the part that applies to the testing in your room. When we get to that point, if you're not sure what you're doing, pause now, see me, see Sarah, make sure you know what script you should be using so you can do the appropriate training. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. There are really 3 parts to this that we're going to talk about: the before the test, during, and after. So before, obviously, you're going to need to participate in this training, which you're doing right now. Congratulations. During, you'll administer the test by reading the scripts, just as they appear in the manual. And after, you're going to account for all materials and return them to the test coordinator, me. I'm lucky to get all those back. So, progressing through this, again, there's a lot of information in the beginning that you need to kind of be aware of. We get to page 6 here, and we're going to talk about before test day, so what you need to do to prepare yourself. You're going to participate in the training, you're going to read the manual, take time to study the scripts, meet with me or with Sarah if you have any questions about the script you're using, about the accommodations you're administering. We want to make sure that you are comfortable and we've got everything set before test day. There's a lot happening on test day. It's a lot harder for us to answer questions on that day and to necessarily get them right. So please make sure you check that out prior to test day. You're also going to need to review and sign the testing staff agreement form. It's a Google form that you have been emailed. It's also available on the staff website. All right, preparing students. Just one thing that I want to highlight here. If you're working in the room that has text-to-speech MP3, please note that Bluetooth earphones are not allowed. So students need to have corded earphones. They can bring their own, or we will have some from the LRC. All right, you can see I've crossed off a couple of sections here. It's because we are not doing a pre-administration section. So you can skip through that until we get to page 12. So once we get there, this is there during the test now. So we're going to make sure we prepare the testing room. There is some information we need to post on the board. That's going to be the test date, the AI code, the address, the 3-digit testing room code, which will be listed on your roster, along with the phrase SAT with essay, and the statement use a number 2 pencil only. Do not use a pen or mechanical pencil. If you're doing the pre-recorded audio MP3 room, you have additional information here that you need to post so the students know how to properly use the equipment that they're going to have in front of them. All right, again, please make sure you review the script and prepare. We're going to talk about accounting for test materials you're going to receive on a roster, testing room materials report form, which we'll talk about later, and along with your other materials, multiple choice test book, essay books, and answer sheets. There's multiple times where you need to count them when you pick them up, when you distribute them to students, and when testing is complete to make sure that your count always matches. Again, using the scripts, it's important that you determine ahead of time which script you're going to use. We have listed that on some different forms, but it is important for you to double check and look at what accommodation is listed and the script and make sure they match. If you've got any questions, please ask. We'll explain it to you, or if we're wrong, we'll correct it. So it's important. So script 1 is generally used for standard time. There's also students that have breaks needed or extended breaks, but not extra breaks. That would be script 2, then is going to be students receiving extra breaks. Script 3 is time and a half. This is generally going to be used in combination with other scripts for students that have, for example, math only or writing only to combine. Script 4 is students with double time. These students are going to test over 2 days. Script 5 is students using pre-recorded audio. And then script 6 is for our students that have time and a half for the entire test, and that also is a 2-day exam. All right, when you're admitting students into the testing room, as we've always done, you need to assign seats, either randomly or by pre-arrangement. We will provide you with seating cards like we've done in the past, so you can put those out and get students in the order and seating that you want them. You also receive 2 rosters. On both of those rosters, you need to mark P for present or A for absent for every student. The first roster will be picked up after testing begins. They'll go to the attendance office. The second roster will stay with your box, and that's the one that we'll send to College Report. So it's very important that both of them are completed accurately. All right, monitoring and timing the test. You're going to accurately time each section. You're going to record start and stop times in the manual as well as on the board. You'll announce the remaining time at regular intervals. That's noted in the script, so just follow along. Monitoring breaks. We're going to walk around the room, make sure that the test books are closed, the answer sheets are placed inside of them so the students aren't cheating. Make sure students don't access their phones or other prohibited electronic devices. We'll talk a little bit about the collection of those. But those do need to be powered off and put away until the test is completely done and everything has been returned to you. Students may eat and drink during the breaks in designated areas, which is going to be in the room, because you're going to be breaking differently from other rooms. But they do need to, if they do have a snack or a drink, it needs to be in the front or the side of the room away from the testing materials. It is important not to ever let students access their bags during the test. If they bring a snack or a drink, they need to take that out prior to the test and put it under their desk until the break. Students may go to the restroom during the breaks, but not in large groups, because we need to limit the number of students in halls because testing can happen in other rooms. All right, complete the count of test materials. This is the testing room materials report form that I talked about before. You will be provided this when you pick up your materials in the LRC. On this, we will list everything that we're giving you, including the serial numbers. You're going to need to check this when you first get it, make sure it's accurate, what's actually in the box, and make sure that matches the number of students on your roster. And then when you return your box at the end, you're going to need to indicate what has been used and what has been unused, and then sign the form. It's important that this is fully completed because we do have to submit this to College Board. All right, scheduled breaks. There are 3 scheduled breaks. This is for a standard time, 10, 5, and 2-minute breaks. If you've got extended breaks, then those are doubled. And if you have extra breaks, then obviously there's going to be more of those built into the script. As I said, we talked about using the restroom or having a snack during those breaks already. Unscheduled break, if a student needs to take a break during the exam, they're allowed to do that. The clock does not stop unless they have breaks as needed, in which case it does allow only one student time to take an unscheduled break. All right, if you're administering the pre-recorded audio format, it's important that you go through this section here, familiarize yourself with the steps that you will need to take for that. All right, if you are administering any type of breaks, which is just about every one of you watching this, you need to make sure you're paying attention here. Extra breaks, these are, as I said, are noted in the script. These are built right into the script so that there's extra breaks sometimes in the middle of the test or maybe one between tests that isn't normally there. Extended breaks is just what it sounds. We're doubling the time. So if it's a 5-minute break, it becomes a 10-minute break. Please note, students may ask to resume testing sooner. You need to make sure you give them at least what are the standard test break and do not prompt them to end their breaks earlier. These are accommodations that we set in meetings and determine were best for students, so we want to make sure we're administering them. And then breaks as needed. This is a student who take a break whenever they need to. Most students are fine with a 10-minute break. Like it says here, however, student requests additional time, that's fine. Again, don't prompt them to start testing again, but you can ask them when they're ready. This is a stop the clock break though, so So if they're testing, they test for 5 minutes and they want to take a break, they take it for 7 minutes, that clock stops. It does not run during that time. All right, administering extended time. Students must be given the entire amount of time and cannot move on to the next section as called. So if you're administering a 60-minute exam and the student has double time, they've got 120 minutes. That 120 minutes needs to expire before you move on to the next section. That is a College Board expectation. All right, and as I said before, students with extended time do get extra breaks built in. If you're administering a large print test, please make sure you read this. We do have a couple of students that are taking tests that way. If you are a human reader or a scribe for a student, please make sure you familiarize yourself with these sections here. If you're a reader, there will be a reading script provided for you that you'll read out of when a student is testing. Scribes know you must write whatever is dictated, and which would include punctuation. You cannot prompt students. All right, maintaining security, we've kind of talked about already. Reporting irregularities, there's an irregularity section in the back of the book. Please make sure you familiarize yourself with some of those. That's also a good resource during testing. If something happens and you're not quite sure, raise an eyebrow, sort of. Take a look at that and see if it'll help you. If you get any kind of questions on anything, please contact me or Sarah. We'll come to the room. We'll help walk you through what to do. All right, speaking of irregularities, here's the most common one. Prohibited electronic devices. All right, students are advised to leave their devices at home or in their lockers during the day. We all know how that will turn out. College Board does as well. So we're going to need to make sure that as students are entering the room, we're checking with them. Do you have a phone? Do you have a smartwatch? All of these types of devices need to be powered off and put away during the test. If they brought backpacks, they should put it in the backpack and put that to the front or the side of the room. If not, we're going to have a box for you so that you can put items in the box and keep that to the front or the side of the room as well. All right, as I said, powered off. Before testing begins, they will have one additional opportunity to turn it off as a part of the script, so we want to give them multiple chances to do the right thing and make the right choice as far as powering it off and turning it away. Once that script has been read, if a prohibited device is seen in a student's possession, regardless of whether it's making noise, the test coordinator, that's me, should collect the device and inspect the device for test-related content and dismiss the student. So if you see something, contact me. I will come up. I will work with that student. I will do the dismissal, and I will inspect the device. We do not want you inspecting devices. We don't want to put you in that type of a position. All right, so let us help you with that. Another piece to note, though, here is if a student or a phone is in your possession, meaning it's in a backpack or it's in the box up at the front or the side of the room, it's away from the student and it makes a noise, that's not necessarily considered grounds for dismissal. We need to silence it right away. That's going to be the most important thing. But again, you can reach out to me and we'll determine whether or not an irregularity. If it's one little beep or chirp, that's not an irregularity. If it goes off for quite a while, you can't get it stopped, that could be, and we'll determine that situation. All right, device collection procedures. I kind of talked about this a little bit already, but as we said, we're going to use option 2 here. So we're going to keep devices in students' bags. We'll collect the bags if they have those. If not, then we'll collect them separately. You're going to do that at the door. Make sure stuff is powered off and put away. Tell them they need to remove pencils, calculator, drinks, snacks from their bag. Put those under their seat because they will not be able to access their bags once testing begins. So if they got a snack, you're in the middle of the first step, or you're in the middle of the first break, and they want to get that snack, it's too late. They can't get it. All right, returning devices. This does not happen until testing is done. That is the higher test, and you've got everything collected and back. All right, irregularity chart. I talked about this before. That's on page 103. You're going to want to take a look at that. All right, now we're on to the scripts and kind of starting here. Everyone stay with me here. We're still on the, this is for everyone. You are going to pick up materials in the LRC. When you get to the testing part, you're going to read the script exactly as it's written. You'll read out of the shaded boxes like this. And this is right here on page 23. This is where you will start on the actual testing day. All right, you'll continue reading the boxes. We're going to do option B here. This is the collected materials that we talked about. You're also, at this point, it's very important, it says to walk around the room, make sure that no one has the following unauthorized materials or aids on their desk. It is important that you do this. Make sure they don't have a smartwatch. Check for wireless earbuds, make sure that they're not doing that. We've had more students in the past couple of years wanting to continue to listen to their music while they're testing. They can't do that. Students have been wanting to use highlighters, which is a great tool. We teach them in English class, but not for this test. Check their calculators. Most calculators are okay. There is a list in the back of the manual. If you see something that has a QWERTY keyboard, then generally that's not going to be acceptable. Just about everything else is, but QWERTY keyboard is going to be a giveaway. All right, you can distribute answer sheets. Make sure they get the answer sheet that has their label on it. The sheets are all labeled. They got student names on them. We're highlighting this because we've had situations in the past where students get the wrong label. So make sure they get their test. All right, continue reading the shaded sections. We are going to fill in fields 1 through 9. Even though there's information and they do have a label, we still need to complete all of those fields. Field 5 asks for their state ID. This is on the label, so they're going to just transpose it from the label onto the answer sheet. We're going to get through field 9, SAT, there, and you're going to distribute the test books. So make sure you give them the test materials in serial number order. The test books all have a serial number on it. So you're going to record on the back of the book for your seating chart, just like it shows in the example here, the serial number and the arrows showing the direction in which you pass these out. So make sure that gets done. You're also going to fill out this portion of the seating chart. This gets turned in along with your manual at the end, and we will just return that to College Board as well. All right. If you are doing the pre-recorded audio, at this point, then you're going to skip ahead to that script because things change for you. Everyone else follow along with me. We'll continue through this portion of the script. I've started these three: Field A, form code; Field B, test ID; and Field C, test book serial number. This is where the students have to record these off of their books. It's very important that you check these and make sure that the students are getting them right. If they don't get those right, their tests will be scored improperly. Field D is the testing room code. We are using testing room codes that will be listed on your roster, so make sure that you put those in. In most cases, it's your room number. All right, a few final things before we get into the test scripts themselves. There are some specific format instructions. So if you scribe, there's extra instructions here. Human readers, extra instruction here. All right, at this point then we are going to get into the scripts. So if you are using script 1, stay with me. If you're using one of the other scripts, you can skip ahead in the video to the appropriate section. All right, so script 1, this is going to be standard time for accommodated testing. So typically you're going to be in a room with a student that breaks as needed, as it's their only accommodation. There are some other ways to do it, but that's the most common one for this. Section 1 reading test, 65 minutes. This is going to be standard time, so you're going to read what's in the shaded sections. They're going to start, you're going to record start and stop time. While they're testing, you're going to post those times. You're going to walk around and make sure they're working on the correct section. And this is the perfect opportunity to complete that seating chart on the back. After that test, there's a 10-minute break. After that, they're going to complete the certification statement. You're going to walk around and make sure that they are doing that certification statement. That's a very important thing to do. Section 2 is the writing and language. It's 35 minutes. You'll record the start and stop here. And then this is for a different instruction. You're going to go on to section 3, the math test and no calculator, which is 25 minutes. You'll record start and stop time here. After that exam, there's a 5-minute break before we move on to the math test for calculator, which is 55 minutes. You'll record start and stop time here. And then at the end of that, section 4, you're going to collect the test books from the student in the same order in which they were distributed. Count to make sure you have them all. Put them where the students can't access them. Don't distribute the essay book yet because they're prior to that section. There is a 2-minute break. It gives you the opportunity to kind of collect everything, make sure you've got it. After you take that short break, we're going to get into the essay section, which is 50 minutes. When they get the essay book, it's important that there's a section on it that they fill out their name and some other information on the essay book itself. Make sure they do that. Make sure they fill out the essay code. They do not, unless it's specifically written, they do not get to use scratch paper. If they have the ability to record their essay, they type it out on a computer. These are the instructions you could use. If not, you're going to continue with these other instructions. You're going to record the start and stop time. You're going to make sure they've all got the book, and you've got everything recorded. And once they finish the essay section, then that is going to be the end of the testing. And at that point, then you'll proceed to page 86 for the after testing portion. So right here, after testing on page 86, you're going to collect materials. You're going to get students to complete the answer sheets. We do have some more bubbling to do. You'll give them a copy of the student answer sheet instructions to use, and we'll complete fields 10 through 14, which is their address. If students struggle with this field is optional. Don't stress over it. Some students don't know their address. Field 15 is the opportunity to fill in 4 colleges or scholarship programs that they want to send their scores to for free. Again, they don't have to do this, but they do have the opportunity to do this here. Fields 16 through 39, we are not going to answer. That's why they are crossed off. These require parental consent, which we do not have, so we will skip those. At that point, then you'll collect the answer sheets. You'll check, make sure fields 1 through 9 on the front are completed. You'll make sure that fields A through C are completed accurately. Make sure then that before you dismiss the students that the answer sheets are not inserted in the essay books. So those are separate stacks. Keep the students until you verify the count of all the materials and the serial numbers are right. If you would please return items in the serial number order, that would help us greatly. We'll read shaded sections. And then you are going to keep students until 12:45. Buses will hold on at 1 o'clock. On day 1, you guys are all given 1-day tests, so you will return your materials to the LRC. Before you do that, though, if you're transcribing a student because they have the specific accommodation to write answers in the book, these are the instructions you'll follow. If they type their essay, you'll work with Heather to make sure that is done with these instructions. And you're going to finish up by making sure the testing room materials report form is done, seating chart's done, room roster is done, and all the other materials are collected. At this point, then, please make sure that you complete the step training agreement that was emailed. That is also linked on the website. Ask any questions if you have them. Please familiarize yourself with this book. And thank you for watching the training. All right, script 2, standard time with extra breaks. So most likely you are in a room with a couple of students that have this, or maybe a student who has breaks as needed that also gets the extra breaks here. So this script is going to have those extra breaks built into that standard time. So we'll dive right into it. So it starts right here on page 35. First test is section 1, reading. As you can see here, there's a 5-minute break, breaking into that 65-minute test to a 33 and a 32-minute section. This is important to note here that if not all the students arrive, if anyone arrives late after this point, you cannot admit them to the room. Prior to this, if a student arrived late, you could let them in. They could just finish any of the bubbling they missed after the test. So you're going to read the shaded sections. We're going to go ahead and jump right into the test. The first part of the first section, you're going to record start and stop times here. This is a good time to make sure you're posting the start and stop times on the board, walking around, make sure everyone's working on the right section, and a good time to complete the seating chart on the back of the book that we talked about before. Here's that first 5-minute break. You're going to record start and stop times for the second part of the reading exam here. When it's over, there is a 5-minute break here. Prior to starting section 2, the students are going to complete the certification statement. It is important that you walk around and make sure that they are doing that. then you'll follow right into section 2, writing and language. It's a 35-minute exam. It's straight through. There's not an extra break on that one. Record start and stop time here. And there's 5-minute break prior to the section 3 math no calculator. This one is an extra break here. So then you jump into math test no calculator, 25 minutes straight through. Record start and stop time here. An additional 5-minute break between that and then the section 4 math test with calculator. And then here's your extra break also built in here. That 55-minute test is broken into 28 and 27-minute sections. So just like the reading test then, you'll record start and stop times here. There's the 5-minute break there. When that is done, that's the end of the multiple choice section. So you're going to collect each test book from the students, same order they were distributed. Make sure you've got all the tests. Make sure they're in serial number order. Don't distribute the essay books yet because you're going to take a short 2-minute break before that. You'll distribute the essay books when you're able to here. So this is the essay section, 50 minutes. There's another extra break here, so it's 25-minute sections. Please note that there's a section here where the students need to record their personal information on the outside of the essay book. Make sure this happens. Check to fill in the essay code. And unless it specifically specifies as an accommodation, they should not be using scratch paper. I think we only have 1 or 2 students in the building that have that accommodation. Continuing on with the instructions then, you're going to give, if you have students that are using the computer to type their essay as an accommodation, these are the instructions you would use, otherwise you can continue down here. Record start and stop times. This is a good time to make sure that everything, check all your books, make sure they're in serial number order and everything's taken care of. Here's the 5-minute break for the, split that in half, and then the second half of the essay. All right, once that's done, you're going to collect an essay book from each student, make sure you've got them all, and then testing is complete. So you're then going to move on to page 86 for the after test portion. So let's take a look at that. All right, so after the test, you're going to collect the materials. Students are going to complete answer sheets. We just have a few more bubbles to fill out. We're going to start with fields 10 through 14, which is their address. If students don't know their address, don't stress. This is an optional section, but we would still hope them to fill that out. Section in field 15 is also optional, but we want to give them the opportunity here where they can send 4 they have 4 free score sends to colleges or scholarship programs. So this is a good opportunity for students if they would like to do that. If they don't, it's okay. We're going to then skip these fields here, 16 through 39. These fields require parental consent, which we do not have. So make sure students do not answer those. You're going to collect the answer sheets. You're going to make sure they've completed fields 1 through 9 on the front, and they've done correctly filled it in fields A through C. Before you dismiss the students, make sure that their answer sheets are not inserted in the essay book, that those are separate stacks. Keep them seated until you verify all the counts, all the serial numbers, read the shaded sections before you return materials. You are going to keep the students in the room until 12:45. As we've said before, buses will run at 1 o'clock. You're only giving a 1-day test, so you'll return your materials back to the LRC. If you have a student who has the ability to transcribe as an accommodation, their answers are, they had the ability to write their answers in the test book, then you need to transcribe them to the answer sheet instructions here. If they type their essay, if that was an approved accommodation, instructions here, and you work with Heather on making sure that gets done properly. And then finally, make sure you're testing room materials report form, seating chart, room roster, and all materials are done, completed, and then turned into the LRC. At this point, you've completed your video training. You should continue to review the book. Make sure you complete the staff testing agreement Google form that was sent to you. It's also listed on the staff website. And thank you for doing the training. All right, here we go. Scripts 1 and 3, extended 50% extended time, math only. So for this accommodation, and you're going to start with script 1, do the reading and writing with standard time, and then we'll use script 3 for the writing, or I'm sorry, for the math, and then we'll come back to script 1 for standard time on the writing portion. I'm just going to tab this section as I remember where to get back to. So right here, script 1, first 1, reading test, 65 minutes. You're going to record the start and stop time here. This is a good time then to post those times on the board, walk around the room, make sure everyone's in the correct section, and complete that seating chart on the back that we talked about. There's a 10-minute break after that test, at which point students are going to do the certification statement. It is important that you walk around the room, make sure they're all doing that properly, and then you're going to proceed to section 2, the writing on language, which again will be standard time, 35 minutes. You record the start and stop time here. At this point, then you're going to follow this instruction A for students with math only extended time, and we'll proceed to script 3 on page 46. So here we are, section 3, math test, no calculator. This is time and a half, you can see, so we got that extended time, 38 minutes, and you're going to be able to move right into this. Here's the first spot where you're going to record the start and stop times. There is a 5-minute break at the end of section 3 before we head to section 4 with math test calculator. This test, because of the length, the 83 minutes, is split into 2 parts with a 5-minute break in between. So because of the 2 parts, you'll have 2 spots where we record the start and stop times with a 5-minute break in between. Once that section is done, then you're going to collect the book from each student. You're going to count, make sure you have everything. Don't distribute the essay books yet. We'll have to get back to the essay section before we do that. There is a 2-minute breaks. So you see then here we're going to do instruction A, math students with extended time for math only. And so we're going to go back to script 1, the essay on page 34. So that's right here, page 34. Right here with the essay, it's 15 minutes long. That's our standard time. That's what we want. So you read the shaded sections. This spot here, they have to report information on the essay book. You're going to check, make sure they fill in the essay code. Scratch paper only if that's provided as a specific accommodation. If students do have the accommodation to type their essay, that's a specific accommodation. This would be the instruction you give. Otherwise, you continue here to begin the essay section. You're going to record start and stop time here. Use this time to make sure you've got everything collected, all the serial numbers are correct for the essay or for the multiple choice books. And then once you get through this, then you're going to be to the end of the test. You'll turn to page 86 for the after test portion. Once we get here to after test here on page 86, you're going to collect all the materials. You're going to complete the answer sheets then. Each student will receive a copy of the student answer sheet instructions because we do have a little bit more bubbling to do. Fields 10 through 14 is going to be their address. If they don't know this, if they struggle with it, don't stress. This is an optional part. We would like them to fill it out, but don't stress over this. Field 15, this is students have the opportunity for 4 free score cents to any college or scholarship organization of their choice. Again, students don't have to do this, but we do want to give them the opportunity to do that. After this, field 16 through 39, you can see are crossed off because those are they'll require parental consent, which we don't have, so students should not complete field 16 through 39. Don't let them do that. You're then going to collect the answer sheets to make sure they've completed fields 1 through 9 on the front. Make sure they have completed fields A through C. Before you dismiss students, you're going to make sure you have everything, that you verified account and by serial number, everything. You're going to read the shaded sections. You're going to keep the students in your room until 12:45. Buses will run at 1 o'clock. And then you're only doing 1 day of testing, so you'll return your items to the LRC. If you do have a student that has a specific accommodation of writing their answers in the book and you need to transcribe them onto the answer sheet, here's your instructions here. If they did have this specific accommodation of a computer for their essay, here's the instructions here, and Heather will also help you with that. And then finally, you're going to make sure that you've got the testing materials report form, the seating chart, the room roster, and all of your other materials completed, counted, and collected and returned. At this point, then, you are finished with the video portion. Please make sure you continue to review the book and ask any questions you might have. Also, please complete the staff testing agreement Google form that you were emailed, as well as it's also posted on the staff website. Thank you. All right, scripts 3 and 4. This is a unique combination that we don't see often, but we've got a student who has 50% extended time for the entire exam and 100% extended time for math only. So we're actually going to bounce back and forth. We're going to do the reading test section 1 and the writing language test section 2 from script 3, which is time and a half. Then we'll jump to script 4 for the 2 math tests. That's 100% extended time. But then we have to jump back to script 3 for the essay for just time and a half, 50% extended time. So we're going to start here on page 43, and this is script 3, time and a half, session 1 reading. It is broken into 2 sections with a 5-minute break halfway through. You'll record the start and stop times for those 2 sections here. There's the break. After that test, then there is another 5-minute break. After the break, the student will complete the certification statement. Make sure that they do that. Then you'll roll right into section 2, reading and language test, which is 53 minutes. Record the start and stop time here. And then there's a 5-minute break before you go to the math. Remember, you're not going to this math. Instead, we're going to jump to page 54, which is section 3, math test no calculator, double time. So we're in the script 4 now. Alright, so you're going to give that a 50-minute exam, record start and stop time here. And then that's going to be the end of day 1, because this is a 2-day exam. So at the end of day 1, you're going to collect all the materials, and then you're going to bring those down to the LRC. On day 2, you will pick up, right here, you'll start day 2. You'll pick up materials in my office, and you'll begin with the second math exam. So we'll read B, collection of materials, same as we did on day 1. And then you go into math, section 4, math calculator. So there's, again, double time, so it's 110 minutes, 2 55-minute parts with a 5-minute break. Between, here's the break, which we're going to do start and stop times for those 2 parts. You'll work through that, you'll finish that, you'll collect the materials, and now you're going to take your break between the sections. Don't distribute the essay book yet, because as remember, we have to turn back to script 3 for the essay. So now we're back to script 3. We're on page 49, and this is the essay, 75 minutes for time and a half after the 50% extended time. Split into 2 sections with a 5-minute break. At this point here, the student needs to record some information on the back of the test book. Make sure they record the essay code. If they have the ability to record the essay type it on a computer, here's the instructions there. If not, you're going to go to this section, read the instructions, record your start and stop time, and then there is a 5-minute break before you do the second part of the essay. And once the essay is done, you'll be at the end of the test. You'll then proceed to page 86 for the after the test portion. So on page 86 then, we're at the after the test, collect materials, and we're going to complete the answer sheets. We do still have a few more bubbles to complete. We're going to give the student answer sheet instructions, and the students are going to complete fields 10 through 14, which is their address. If students are unsure of this or unable to answer that, don't stress. It's an optional section. We would like students to fill it out, but again, don't stress. Same with field 15. We want to give students the opportunity to do 4 free score sends of their SAT score to college or scholarship organization of their choice. Again, if the students don't want to or aren't sure about that, you can skip that section as well. Field 16, through 39, you can see we've crossed off because we have to skip those. Those do require parental consent, which we do not have. So you'll skip those and get to the point where you're collecting answer sheets. Make sure the students have completed fields 1 through 9, along with fields A through C. Make sure that you've got everything, that they're all sorted properly and collected. You're going to continue through your script. And then on day 2, you're going to return materials back to my office. And you're going to send the student, don't worry about this as day 1 information, you're going to send students on to class at the conclusion of the testing. If the student does have the ability to write their responses in the test book, you do need to transcribe those to the answer sheet. This will be the instructions here. If they were able to type their essay, these are the instructions here. Heather will help with that as well. And then finally, you want to make sure you get the testing room materials report form, CA chart, room roster, and all of the materials collected and counted and bring those in. At this point, then you're done with the video training. Please make sure you continue to familiarize yourself with the book. Ask any questions if you're unsure of anything, and then be sure to complete the staff testing agreement Google form that you emailed and is also listed on the staff website. Thank you. Script 4, 100% extended time, double time. We're going to begin on page 51. So this is for students that are going to receive 100% extended time for the entire exam. This is a 2-day exam. Start with section 1, the reading test. This is 130 minutes with double time, so 2 65-minute sections with a 5-minute break. On the next page is where you'll record start and stop time for both of those sections. There's the break. After that, then there's another 5-minute break. From that 5-minute break, then you'll proceed to do the certification statement with the student. Make sure they complete and sign that. Then section 2, the writing and language test. This is 70 minutes straight through. There's no break in that. Good start and stop time here. There's a 5-minute break after that before we proceed to section 3, math test, no calculator. 50 minutes straight through, record start and stop time here. And then this is going to be the end of day 1. So at the end of the day, then you're going to collect the materials and you're going to return those to the LRC. Day 2, then you'll start here. You will pick up the materials in my office, and then you'll continue with testing from here. You'll read the collection of material statements just like you did on the first day, and then you will continue to roll into the section 4, math test with calculator, 110 minutes, 2 55-minute sections with a 5-minute break. Just as before, here's our 2 start and stop time records, and 5-minute break here. After math test with the calculator, you're going to collect the materials. That's the end of the multiple choice section. Don't distribute the essay books yet, because we're going to take a 2-minute break before the essay section. We're just going to start here. It's going to be 100 minutes, so 2 15-minute sections with a 5-minute break. There is a portion on the essay where they need to record some information, so make sure that gets done. Make sure the students record the essay code. They cannot be using scratch paper unless that is a specific accommodation. They can just write in the answer in the essay book. Your start and stop time for the first section is going to be recorded here. 5-minute break, start and stop time for the second section. Once you're done with that, you're going to collect the essay books, and then you're now going to begin with the test, and you'll proceed to page 86 for the after test portion. So here's the after test section. You're going to collect materials, you're going to continue to read the script, we're going to complete the answer sheets. There is still a little bit more bubbling we need to do. Students need to receive the student answer sheet instructions, and then they're going to complete fields 10 to 14, which is the address section. This is, we want students to fill it out. If the student doesn't know his or her address, don't stress. It's optional. Field 15 is also optional, but we want to give students the opportunity for the 4 free score sends to any college or scholarship organization. Those are listed in the student answer sheet instructions that you gave them. If the student doesn't want to do this, that's okay, they do not have to. Fields 16 through 32, you can see we've crossed off here. Students should not be completing this because we need parental consent and we do not have that. So you're going to skip those fields, and then you're going to continue collecting answer sheets. Make sure you've got everything collected, make sure you've got all the materials, everything's counted. Read the sections here, and then, like I said, this is a 2-day test, so second day you're going to return materials to my office. Don't pay attention to that because it's a 2-day. Students will dismiss from testing to whatever class period they happen to be in at the time. If the student does have the ability to write answers in their test book, then you need to transcribe those into the answer sheet. Here's the instructions for that. If they had the ability to type their essay, here's the instructions for that. Heather can help with that as well. And then finally, you need to make sure that the testing room materials report form, the seating chart, the room roster, and all the materials are done and collected. And like I said, get those submitted to my office when you're done. At this point, you're done with the video training. Please make sure you continue to familiarize yourself with the book. Ask any questions if you're unsure of anything. And make sure you complete the staff testing agreement Google form that was emailed to you and is also on the staff website. Thank you. Script 5, pre-recorded audio format. All right, so you're going to start here on page 60 with pre-recorded audio format. You're going to start the streaming application. Ben will be around to assist with this. Please make sure you're reading the sections here that are shaded. You're going to complete some more test information. Field A form code is star because it's important that the students complete that accurately so their test is scored properly. The same is true for Field B, test ID, and Field C, test book serial number. Make sure that students do complete those accurately. Field D, we are using a test room code, so make sure that the students complete that as well. Again, you're going to continue to read the shaded sections. I crossed this one off because that deals with flash drives. We are not using flash drives. So we'll continue through here, and then you're going to get to section 1, the reading test. Students do have double time for this exam, which makes it a 2-day exam. So this is broken into two 65-minute sections with a 5-minute break. You record the start and stop times for those two sections here. Here's where the 5-minute break is. During that time, it's a good time to make sure you post the start and stop times on the board. Walk around the room, check, make sure the students are all working in the correct section, and complete the seating chart on the back of the manual with serial numbers to make sure you've done all of that correctly. At the end of the reading exam, there is a 5-minute break. After the 5-minute break, the students are going to complete the certification statement. Please walk around, make sure the students are doing that properly and completing that. You're then going to roll right into section 2, the writing and language test, 150 minutes for the double time, 2 sections, again split with a 5-minute break. Record start and stop time for the first section here. Here's your break. Start and stop time for the second section right here. This does conclude the end of day 1 then after these 2 exams. So you are going to collect the materials and dismiss the students. From day 1, you'll begin day 2 here. At the end of day 1, you're going to keep the students till 12:45, and the materials are going to come back to the LRC. For day 2, you'll pick the materials up in my office, and you'll begin here. We'll go to B for collecting belongings. Read the shaded areas to get them back on logged in to the exam. And then on day 2, you'll begin with section 3 math test, no calculator, 50 minutes, double time. Record your start and stop here. There is a 5-minute break before you move on to section 4 math test calculator. Again, broken up into 2 sections with a 5-minute break. You'll record start and stop times here, 5-minute break between. When you're done with that, you're going to collect all the students' belongings, because that'll be the end of the multiple choice section. But before the essay section, distribute the essay tests because there is a short break. Make sure you read these sections. You get the essay then, which is two 15-minute sections with a 5-minute break. There's a spot here where the students do need to record some information on the back of the essay book. Make sure they filled in the essay code. As you move into the essay, please note that unless they're approved to type the essay on a computer, at this point they need to be writing their essays by hand. And again, they shouldn't have scratch paper unless that's a specifically approved accommodation. As you move into the essay then, here's your start and stop time records. Here's your 5-minute break. Once you get through the essay, you're going to collect the essay book from each student, count, make sure you've got all materials, and then you are at the end of the test. You're going to proceed to page 86 for the after-test activities. So here's your after-test activities with the sections you're going to read. You're going to distribute the student answer sheet instructions. There's a couple of sections that we need to fill in a bubble still. So fields 10 through 14, which is their address. Get them to do the best they can. We would like them to fill this out. If they don't know their address, don't stress. This is really an optional section. Field 15 is also optional, but we would like to give the students the opportunity for the four free score sends that this affords them. And then fields 16 through 39 are going to be skipped because we need parental consent for that. We do not have parental consent, so don't let them answer any of those. And then where you're going to collect the answer sheets. Before you dismiss students, make sure you've verified all your counts, make sure that everything is stacked up properly. Please put the test books back into serial number order. That will help us greatly. Read the final sections. If any students had the ability to transcribe their answers in the book as a specific accommodation, then you need to transcribe those to the answer sheet now. If they did have the ability to type their essay, here's the information you need. Heather can help you on that as well. On day 2, materials come back to my office and students get dismissed to whatever class period we happen to be in at that time. And then finally, when you're going to finish up, make sure you get a testing room materials report form and the seating chart and the room roster completed. All the materials are collected and turned in. At this point, then, you have finished the video training. Please make sure to continue to familiarize yourself with the book. Ask me or Sarah any questions that you may have, and be sure to complete the staff testing agreement Google form that you were emailed, and it's also on the staff website. Thank you. Script 6, 50% extended time, time and 1/2. This is 2-day testing. You're going to start here on page 77. This is for students that are getting this for the entire exam. So reading section 1 is the first test. It's 98 minutes or time and 1/2. There's 2 sections, 49 minutes each with a 5-minute break. At this point, you will not let any more students into the room. Any students who have arrived late up to this point can continue. But once you start this time section, they can't come in. If they did come in after you started doing the bubbling, they can finish the bubbling after the test. So you're going to read the shaded sections. We're going to go on to, you're going to record the start and stop time for the first part of the exam. While the students are taking that part, you need to post the start and stop times on the board. Walk around, make sure everyone's working on the front section, and this is a good time to complete the scene chart on the back that we talked about. There is a 5-minute break midway through, and then you're going to record start and stop time for the second part. At the end of that second part, there is a 5-minute break, and then they're going to complete the certification statement. So please walk around and make sure that the students all do complete that certification statement. That's going to then take us right into section 2, the writing and language test, which is 53 minutes long. There's no break on that one. So you're going to record the start and stop time here. And then after that test, there is a 5-minute break before we go into section 3, math test, no calculator. Time and 1/2 for that, and that's going to get us 38 minutes. Record the start and stop time here. And then that is going to take us to the end of day 1. Once you have collected all the materials, you're going to go ahead and bring those back to the LRC. Students are going to stay with you till 12:45 for the 1 o'clock buses. On day 2, you'll pick up the materials in my office, and then you'll continue on reading the shaded sections. We go to part B, talking about materials, personal belongings that we did on day 1. And then you'll move right into section 4, which is the math test with calculator, so 83 minutes. This one is broken into 2 parts, and there's a 5-minute break between. You'll record start-stop time for the first part here. There is a 5-minute break, record start-stop time for the second part here. At this point, then, you're going to collect the materials, or the test books, because we're done with the multiple choice section. Count them, make sure you got everything, put everything in serial number order, make sure you've got them all. Don't distribute the essay books yet, because there is a small 2-minute break before the essay section, and you're going to distribute those essay books then when you're directed to in this section. So the essay is 75 minutes, 2 parts with a 5-minute break. Once they get going, here you need to make sure students are recording some information on the essay book itself. Check to make sure they filled in the essay code. Students should not be using scratch paper unless that is a specific accommodation that they have. If students have the accommodation of typing their essay, here's the instructions you're going to read. If not, you're going to go to this section here and read that to them. All right, like I said, there's 2 sections, so you record starts time for those here. Here's the 5-minute break. Once you're done with the essay, that's going to take you to the end of the exam. Count all the materials, make sure you've got everything. And then you're going to proceed to page 86 for the after-test activities, which really is just 1 page turn away. You're going to collect the materials, read the information. You're going to distribute the student answer sheet instructions, because we do have a few more bubbles to fill out. We're going to fill out fields 10 through 14, which is address. Students struggle with this. Don't stress over it. This is really an optional section. We'd like to have them fill it out, but if they don't know their address, that's okay. Field 15 is another optional section, but we would like to give students the opportunity for 4 free score sends. So please allow them the time to complete field 15. If they choose not to, that's okay. If some do and some don't, they can just sit quietly while the others work on it. Then fields 16 through 39, as you can see, are crossed off. We're going to skip those because those do require parental consent, which we do not have. That's going to take you to collecting the answer sheets. Make sure students have completed fields 1 through 9, fields A through C, as we talked about earlier. Before dismissing, make sure you count and verify that you've got everything. Read the final sections. And then for day 2, you're going to bring materials back to my office, and the students are going to be dismissed to whatever class period we happen to be in at the time that you finish. If you do have any students who have the accommodation, specific accommodation of writing answers in their book, and then you need to transcribe those to the answer sheet, here's those instructions. If you have any students with a specific accommodation of typing their essay, here's those instructions, and Heather can help you with that as well. And then finally, finishing up, make sure you're testing the room materials report form in seating chart and room roster, and other materials are done and completed, and then you bring those back down to my office. At this point, you have completed the video training for this, and now you need to continue to familiarize yourself with the book. Ask any questions of Sarah or I if you have them, and make sure you complete the staff testing agreement online as well. Thank you.